Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics. In this video we're going to talk about shooting the Sage Dynamics Cadence Standards Part 2. If you haven't checked out Part 1 of the video, I encourage you to watch that video before you watch this one because I won't go into as much detail behind the philosophy of the Cadence Standards in this video as I do in the first one, because there's a Part 1, this is Part 2. If you're a regular subscriber, you've probably already seen Part 1 last week, you're watching Part 2 this week. If you're not a regular follower, go ahead and hit the subscribe button because I make videos, put them out every week. But that's enough of that. Talking about Cadence Standards. What is Cadence Standards? Just real briefly, what we're trying to do is establish the ability and develop the skill set of being able to shoot fast and accurate at reasonable distances. Reason we're doing this is because I noticed a deficiency in my previous experience coming up much younger than I am now of being taught how to shoot a handgun. Professionally trained through numerous sources, and what I noticed is those private instructors that I attended courses with on my own time, my own money, did address this skill set, some briefly, some more in depth. Professional training that I received in law enforcement did not. And that I feel like is a significant deficiency in developing a skill set, because if we think about all those videos we've seen, and I'll use law enforcement as an example again because we have more evidence, more video evidence of law enforcement shootings than we do citizen shootings, what we'll see is officers firing 5, 7, 10, 15 rounds as quickly as possible, and generally their accuracy is not great. Of course there are exceptions to that, but as a general rule they're not shooting as well as they probably could, because most likely at the academy and then their in-service training that they go through throughout their career, cadence or rhythm is not being addressed. So the second part of the Cadence Standards is the larger, relatively speaking, point of aim. It's a 4x6 box, which if you overlay it on the human anatomy and the high thoracic, you get a point of aim that covers the heart, lungs, some of the lungs, great vessels, sections of the spinal cord, column cord. What does this box approximate? It approximates a, relatively speaking, small point of aim for a rapid string of fire. My Cadence Standards is 7 rounds. The reason I have it 7 rounds and not less, or not more, 7 I feel like is a really good number before you start to get fatigued in your grip, is 7 rounds allows you to demonstrate technical proficiency in a short period of time with more rounds, while not being super ammo exhaustive and causing fatigue throughout a string of fire. So if you run this 7, 8, 10 times and you're shooting 10 or 15 round strings, not only is that a lot of money down range, but it's going to fatigue your hands pretty quickly, and we don't want that. We want an honest measure of our skill set without causing fatigue quickly. The reason that the larger point of aim exists, because you remember from Part 1 we're talking about that reduced A zone, which is 2 by 4 inches. This is 4 by 6. This is my standard A zone size that I use in all classes because it is a precise point of aim when we think about anatomy in the high thoracic. It roughly approximates the size of the heart, roughly approximates the location of the heart, with an ideal presentation for those two-dimensional targets. 3D is kind of a different conversation, different video. 4 by 6 allows me to shoot the gun as fast as I can, as fast as possible. Remember, I talked about in the previous video the difference between as fast as possible, fast as I can. In this video, I'm trying to combine the two. I'm trying to pull the trigger as fast as I physically can and maintain as fast as possible accuracy. I'm going to shoot it from 3, from 5, and from 7. You'll notice that the time standards are different. From 3 yards, I only have 1.5 seconds. From 5 yards, I have 1.9 seconds. From 7 yards, I have 2.4 seconds. I feel like these times are literally just enough time to get those 7 rounds on a desired point of aim, being the 4x6 box, with really no time to spare. The tightest time, of course, is the 3 yards. Because from 3 yards, yes, you still have to aim. 4x6 is easy to miss when you get the gun running fast, but it gives you just enough time to fire 7 rounds with a usable sight picture. This drill was not necessarily developed for red dot handguns. However, red dot handguns will definitely excel. There's that old argument that irons are faster up front. Bullshit. Irons are faster up front from someone who doesn't know how to shoot a red dot gun properly. Just like with the first video, I'll go ahead and give you guys a demonstration because I believe demos are important. So I shot all 3 distances to all 3 par times, and I demoed it using 3 different guns. As kind of a control, I used a double action, single action iron sight gun. I figured, why shoot iron sights? Let's make it even harder by introducing that double action trigger pull. I'm using a Beretta 92 modified by Langdon Tactical, the Langdon LTT. Yes, it is an aftermarket Beretta. I could have used a bone stock Beretta, but I don't own one anymore. So this is my control gun. I believe that you should shoot these standards or shoot this drill with the gun that you carry. So if you carry a modified gun, that's what you should be using. There should be no requirement that you have to do it with an OEM stock gun unless that's what you carry. Now, I have shot this before with OEM guns, but for the purpose of the video, I just grabbed 3 guns out the safe, and that's what we're using. So we're using the Beretta, the Langdon LTT. I'm also using a Nighthawk Firehawk and my personal carry gun, which is an Agency Arms modified Glock 19X. Up first at 3 yards, let's see how it goes. You see those times are very tight. I am not the fastest shooter in the world, but I feel like I can consistently meet that par time right there around high 1.3s, low 1.4s. I feel like it's just enough time. These times were developed by allowing a lot of my peers to shoot this drill, these distances and these drills, 7-yard strings, and I came up with an average based on their skill sets that they were reporting back to me. And of course, some of my higher functioning students who shoot really well, I had them shoot it also, just to get a general idea of what would be a respectable time. If you're not achieving the par time on 3 yards, don't worry about it. Just keep working on it. Think about the process. Every time you shoot that 7-round string, replay your sight picture process in your head and think about, does that connect with what you're seeing on the target? If you're seeing a lot of horizontal deviation, that's most likely your grip. If your grip is not sound, you're not going to be able to meet these time limits with this standard of accuracy, even from 3 yards. Now looking at 5 yards, same 3 guns. Five yards only adds 0.4 seconds. I thought about adding 0.5 just to kind of come up with a round number, but I don't believe that round numbers should be round for the sake of being round. So I kept it at that 1.9. I feel like from 5 yards, you're only 2 yards further back. It's not that big of a deal. Being able to maintain accuracy, 7-round string of fire in that 4x6 box is completely within the realm of possibility. Now let's check out 7 yards. Seven yards, you get a little bit more time, 2.4 seconds. If your skills are on point, if you're shooting consistently really good at 3 and really good at 5, you're probably going to finish the standards at 7 yards with some time left over. Originally, the par times on the 7 were much tighter, but what I realized is for some people, once we get back there, from 7 yards, for cadence shooting, 7 yards is long distance. I don't consider 7 yards to be cadence shooting for a beginning level shooter, or maybe even someone who's been shooting for a while, but they haven't put a whole lot of thought and attention into self-defense shooting, or they haven't been professionally trained in self-defense shooting. That doesn't mean that you can't develop these skills and be capable of this on your own and having never received any professional training whatsoever. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is people who have good, high-quality professional training are more likely to be capable of this than people who are not. But that doesn't mean that you can't develop this skill on your own, which is one of the whole reasons I'm making this video, is something you can work on your own. If you've got the ammo and you've got the range, and this is something you can shoot at indoor ranges really well, if your range allows more than 1 round a second, because I can tell you, you're not going to meet the par times if you've got a range that only allows you to fire 1 round a second. So there's that. But if you have the ability to shoot this, it's going to work out very, very well for you. It is a little bit ammo intensive if you're constantly having to do it because you're tweaking and working on your technique. But I found this to be one of the best ways to help students develop the ability to shoot fast and accurate, because those two things are not mutually exclusive. Now, one thing to bring up, because someone's going to bring it up, is the size of the point of aim. 4x6, for some people that might be large. It is large depending on what we're talking about. We want to get out of that mentality of everything I do has to be a ragged hole. I need to shoot all the bullets through the same hole. Look, if you can meet these par times and make it look like you only shot the target once, That's impressive. I don't know anybody who can do that consistently. If you do it once, that doesn't count. It's got to be repeatable. So you can't get lucky. It's got to be something repeatable. For realistic cadence rates of fire, the 4x6 box is still a precision point of aim, even if in your mind you're thinking that's not precise, that's not precise, that's not precise. Absolutely is for what we're doing. I could have opened it up even more, but I felt like that would be allowing people to be too vague in their skill, because what I don't want people to do is get into the mentality of combat accuracy. That doesn't mean anything. People who say combat accuracy just can't shoot. That's generally what it is. So what we're looking at is 4 inches by 6 inches. If I place that in the cranial vault, or if I place that in the high thoracic cavity, I'm hitting really critical organs that people need to continue to fight you as the bad guy. And ultimately, everything for me boils down to breaking the human body, because I am a self-defense focused instructor. So now, if you've watched part 1 and you're watching part 2, you've seen both versions of this drill. Just because you can meet the accuracy standards on the reduced A zone does not mean you can meet the time standards on allowing you the larger full-size A zone. But I highly encourage you to try both. And if you're posting it on social media, tag me in your results. I'm eager to see how well people do. Eventually, there probably will be a coin for this. However, you got to attend a class to get one. Just like the Eleanor drill that I have. Can't get one, unfortunately, unless you attend a class. But I wanted to put this out because this is something I've been using in classes for a while, and I'm going to continue to use it because it's super beneficial to the students, and to me it's the most succinct, direct way to help students develop that cadence ability. Not only does it develop the ability for them to shoot fast, but it makes their grip better for any type of shooting they're going to be doing. I'm Aaron Cowan with Sage Dynamics. Train accordingly. Disregard.